Have you ever watched a season finale and just sat there staring at the screen thinking, well, absolutely nobody won that battle? Because that's exactly what House of the Dragon Season 3's finale delivers. We got dragons burning entire armies, political betrayals, a queen making increasingly terrifying decisions, and one of the most heartbreaking deaths in the entire series. And if you thought the Dance of the Dragons couldn't get any darker, this finale basically looked at that idea and said, "Hold my wildfire." Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. So let's break down everything that happened in the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale, what Helena's tragic death really means, why the Battle of Tumbleton changes everything, and what all of this sets up for the fourth and final season. The beginning of Rhaenyra's downfall. Let's start with Rhaenyra, because while she technically sits on the Iron Throne at the end of this season, this finale makes one thing painfully clear. Rhaenyra is losing herself. For most of the series, audiences have supported her because she was fighting against injustice. Her claim was stolen, her family was torn apart, her children were murdered, and compared to the Greens, she often seemed like the more reasonable choice. But power changes people, and the finale shows us exactly how dangerous that transformation can be. One of the biggest moments comes when Rhaenyra goes before the High Septon and seeks religious validation for her rule. She wants to be publicly recognized and effectively blessed as the rightful ruler. Sounds reasonable at first, right? Well, the problem is that the High Septon refuses. Instead of accepting that refusal, Rhaenyra immediately labels him a traitor and has him executed. Think about how shocking that is. This isn't a battlefield enemy. This isn't someone plotting against her. This is a religious leader simply refusing to give her the answer she wants. And Rhaenyra's response is death. That's a major turning point. The show is essentially telling us that the woman who once fought against tyranny is beginning to become a tyrant herself. And unfortunately, things only get worse from there. The Battle of Tumbleton was a disaster for everyone. Now let's talk about the episode's biggest spectacle, the Battle of Tumbleton. Fans have been waiting a long time to see this battle brought to life, and wow, it did not disappoint. But what's fascinating is that this wasn't really a victory for either side. It was pure chaos. Ormond Hightower believed he had a winning strategy. His forces were outnumbered, but he thought bringing Ulf White to his side would completely change the battle. After all, having a dragon rider switch sides should be a game-changing move. In theory, it sounds brilliant. In practice, absolute disaster. Before the battle even properly unfolds, Ulf is drunk, irresponsible, and completely unreliable. Ormond expects a disciplined warrior. Instead, he gets a man who's barely functioning. And when Ormond confronts him, things spiral out of control fast. What follows is basically every commander's worst nightmare. Ulf doesn't just attack one side, he attacks everybody. Using Silverwing, he unleashes destruction on both armies and the town itself. Soldiers die, civilians die, homes burn, entire sections of Tumbleton are wiped out. It's the kind of dragon warfare that reminds viewers why dragons are so terrifying in the first place. People often talk about dragons as symbols of power, but this battle reminds us that dragons are also weapons of mass destruction. Once the fire starts, nobody can really control where it ends. And that's exactly what happened here. Why Daemon's actions matter. One interesting detail that shouldn't be overlooked is Daemon's behavior during the battle. Throughout the season, Daemon has often been viewed as the most dangerous person on Team Black. Honestly, that's not an unfair reputation. The guy solves most problems with violence. But during Tumbleton, something surprising happens. He actually shows restraint. Rhaenyra specifically asked him not to make her look like a monster in the eyes of the realm. And for once, Daemon listens. Instead of unleashing maximum destruction with car axes, he limits his attack and focuses mainly on strategic objectives like breaking through defenses. That's a huge contrast compared to Ulf. Daemon understands the consequences of dragonfire. Ulf doesn't care. So ironically, one of the most feared men in Westeros ends up acting more responsibly than the supposedly loyal dragon rider fighting beside him. It's a fascinating reversal. And unfortunately for Rhaenyra, the realm won't care who specifically caused the destruction. People will simply remember that dragons loyal to her side reduced Tumbleton to ashes. Perception matters in politics, and this battle is a public relations nightmare. Why Helena's death is so heartbreaking. Now let's get to the moment that probably left many viewers emotionally devastated, Helaena Targaryen's death. If you've read Fire and Blood, you knew this was coming eventually. But seeing it happen on screen is a completely different experience. Because Helaena has always felt different from everyone else in this story. While nearly every major character is obsessed with power, revenge, or ambition, Helaena never really wanted any of it. She was gentle, kind, quiet. She wasn't interested in ruling. She wasn't interested in war. She simply wanted peace. And in the brutal world of Westeros, that almost guarantees tragedy. The key factor here is Mysarea's warning. After being dismissed by Rhaenyra, Mysaria speaks honestly to Helaena. She tells her something terrifying. Rhaenyra will never truly let her go. As long as Aegon remains alive, Helaena and her unborn child will always have political value. They will always be hostages, always leverage, always pieces on the board, never free. And for someone like Helaena, that's unbearable. She realizes there is no future where she gets to live peacefully with her child. No future where she escapes the political games. No future where the war simply leaves her alone. So she makes a tragic choice. She throws herself from the tower. And just like that, one of the purest characters in the series is gone. Why Helena's death changes everything. Helena's death isn't just emotionally devastating. It's politically catastrophic. Let's think about what she represented. First, she was incredibly valuable as a member of the royal family. Second, she was carrying a child. Third, she was a dragon rider. And perhaps most importantly, she was beloved by the people. That's the part that may hurt Rhaenyra the most. The common people loved Helaena. They saw her as compassionate and innocent. When someone like that dies under suspicious circumstances, people start asking questions. And in Westeros, rumors spread faster than ravens. Many citizens won't believe the truth. They won't believe that Helaena chose death herself. Instead, they'll assume Rhaenyra had something to do with it. Whether that's fair or not doesn't really matter. Politics often runs on perception rather than facts, and the perception will be devastating. Every angry whisper in King's Landing becomes another crack in Rhaenyra's rule. Every rumor becomes another threat to her authority. The queen desperately needs public support. Instead, she's losing it by the day. The real meaning of the finale. What makes this finale so brilliant is that it's not really about military victories. It's about legitimacy. Every major character is fighting for legitimacy. Rhaenyra wants people to see her as the rightful queen. Aegon wants his throne back. The Faith wants influence. The small folk want stability. But after this finale, nobody gets what they want. Rhaenyra sits on the throne, yet looks weaker than ever. Aegon is alive, but still displaced. The realm is exhausted. Cities are burning. Families are broken. And dragons continue making everything worse. The Dance of the Dragons was always a tragedy. Not a story about heroes defeating villains, but a tragedy about an entire dynasty destroying itself from within. This finale captures that perfectly. Nobody is winning. Everyone is simply losing at different speeds. What this sets up for Season 4. Now let's talk about where things are heading. Because Season 4 is shaping up to be absolutely brutal. Aegon and Aemond are preparing for their next move. They expect to find allies and military support. Instead, they're likely to arrive at the ruins of Tumbleton. That changes everything. The destruction becomes powerful propaganda against Rhaenyra. Her enemies can point directly at the burned town and say, "Look what her dragons have done." Meanwhile, Rhaenyra faces growing unrest inside King's Landing. The execution of the High Septon, the destruction at Tumbleton, Helena's death, all of these events combine into a perfect storm. And storms in Westeros rarely end peacefully. Then, of course, there's the confrontation fans have been waiting years to see. Daemon and Aemond. The show has been building toward that clash for a long time. Both characters almost feel destined to collide. Two of the most dangerous dragon riders in the world. Two men driven by pride, destiny, and obsession. When that battle finally arrives, it's going to be legendary. But if history tells us anything, it probably won't end happily. Our nerdy thoughts. At its core, the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale is about consequences. The consequences of ambition, the consequences of revenge, and the consequences of believing power can solve every problem. Rhaenyra may have the Iron Throne, but she's losing the people. Aegon may have lost his crown, but he's gaining momentum. The realm is fractured. The dragons are out of control. And one of the most beloved characters in the story, Helaena Targaryen, is gone. Her death might actually be the moment that changes the entire war. Because sometimes a single tragedy can accomplish what armies cannot. And that's what makes this finale so powerful. It isn't the dragons we'll remember most. It isn't the battles. It isn't even the politics. It's the heartbreaking realization that every step closer to victory seems to cost these characters another piece of their humanity. And by the time this war finally ends, there may be very little humanity left to save. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Rhaenyra has officially become a tyrant, or can she still redeem herself in Season 4? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next House of the Dragon breakdown, Fire and Blood.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.